that join us weekly, and for those of you that are new to the call tonight, you should know that this is your place for motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. I am Anita Hicks, your host, motivational speaker, life coach, and business trainer. Thank you so much for joining us, for investing in yourself, and joining us on this call tonight. After the call, you will have an opportunity to chat live on Facebook with Mr. Brown and chat with the other like-minded people in this community. So join us on Les Brown's Facebook page, which is brown.les. Now, when you go to Les Brown, you will see many Les Browns out there, but there's only one, the one that almost has 100, which has about 98,000 likes. So please do that. And we also encourage you to go to lesbrownevents.com to hear about the places that Mr. Brown will be speaking. And I'm sure he will share that with you as well tonight. Mr. Brown, how are you?
I'm great and grateful, and I'm also saddened by the tragedy that has taken place in our country.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's devastating. You know, my cousin, he's in Boston, and he would run the Boston Marathon for years. He's not running it now, but every year he goes to the Boston Marathon just to watch this and spectate and view like most people. So I was searching for him because I called all of my family in Boston. Not only was I, all of our family members were, because we were all looking for him. So fortunately, he is fine, but there are other friends of his that are not. So I, too, like you, am a little saddened. So with you, my prayers are for Boston as well.
Yes, this type of tragedy and the kind of mind, we can't even fathom what kind of mind that can conceive of doing something of this nature. And this is a time where our prayers go out to the victims and their families, and we just pray that God would give them the strength to make it through this experience.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to talk to you about when tragedy strikes. Last week, Monday, I got a call from a friend of mine named Robert Boyd. And Robert Boyd was a person that I met many years ago in Columbus, Ohio. He got me involved in multi-level marketing and introduced me to Jim Rohn and different other motivational speakers. He's one of those individuals that had been involved for many years. And we traveled together doing presentations for a multi-level marketing company called Bestline Products. And he called me about a deal, which he always had something going. I mean, probably over the years, over more than 30 years of knowing Bob, I would say that he perhaps introduced me to maybe over 40 multi-level marketing companies. He was a guy that he had the same level of energy and the same level of determination and enthusiasm about a new opportunity every time. It was like the first time he'd ever introduced me to one. And one of the things that as I look back and reflect as I prepare to go to Columbus on Wednesday to speak at his funeral, is that we had no way of knowing that was going to be the last conversation that we would have. That on Wednesday, when we were scheduled to have a meeting, his son got a call from Bob, and he was sick, and he was hospitalized, and Thursday he was on life support, and then he passed the day before yesterday. One of the things that really struck me was that I'm sure had we known that was going to be the last conversation that we were going to have, the conversation would have gone in a different direction. The same thing as the Boston Marathon. that we never know what's around the corner. We never know what's going to happen in the next moment. And so what do when something as unspeakable, horrific, when something that happens that you just never saw coming? What do you do when tragedy strikes? And one of the first things that we have to do, I believe, is that we literally have to pause in the moment to gather ourselves, to connect with ourselves, because we're shocked. I was shocked when I got the call from Kyle, who said, "Would you say a few words to my father? We will put the phone to his ear and talk to him. He won't be able to talk back to you because of tubing that's going down his throat." And I said a few words that I knew that would make him smile, and Kyle said he did smile. And one of the things that we know is that when things happen to us, even though we know that this has not come to stay, the pain that we're experiencing, the grief, the sadness, that has not come to stay, it has come to pass. But in the moment, in the midst of it, we have to gather ourselves. In the midst of it, we have to begin to stand up inside ourselves. In the midst of it, we've got to find the strength and the vision to look past the tragedy of where we are at that particular moment and to step in a place of healing, to step in a place of inner strength, to step in a place that will allow us to hold on and to have some hope in the midst of what's happening, even though we cannot understand, even though it doesn't make sense. That someplace within ourselves we've got to find the strength to weather the storm of that moment, because life is full of them, and it will always happen. It's a part of the whole process of being human. When tragedy strikes, to find the strength to hold on, to find the ability to say, "God, give me the power and the healing to make it through this moment." When tragedy strikes, and it can happen at any point. When we're working on a dream, as Bob has called me about an idea, a dream, a business proposal, and a whole concept that he felt that would take his life to another level, something that he wanted me to be a part of. And that as we look at ourselves and look at where we want to go, I think that what I like about and reflecting on Bob's life, he was in pursuit of a dream. The people who were running the Boston Marathon, that was the dream of many people who participated, people who watched and were witnesses. And what we know is that whenever we're working on something, when we're going through something, when we're pursuing something, there's some power in that. And we also know there are people that are envious and jealous. There are people who would try and sabotage us and try and kill our spirits or take us out. It's a part of this thing called life. And that what we have to do is show up for ourselves in the midst of that. What we have to do is to find strength within ourselves in the midst of it. What we have to do is not try and make sense of it, because we can't. We can't. We can't think like crazy people. We can't think like sick minds. There's nothing that we can say in response to, why would someone do something like this? There's no answer that we could say to ourselves that can make it okay. And maybe that's when we have to lean not unto thine own understanding. Maybe that's the time that we have to begin to know that there are moments in life that words just sometimes can't comfort us, that we have to just be still in the midst of it. As I was speechless when Carl called and said, "My dad passed this morning." When Kelly Brichard called me and said, her father passed. That things happen to us sometimes in life that all we can do is just be still. All we can do is just sometimes get silent to listen to our own breathing. We could even hear our own heartbeat, and we just try and find the strength to continue to stand, to continue to move forward in the midst of the moment. And life will bring us those kinds of moments. And the words of Charles Udall come to me now, said in life you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. And that it's easy to have faith and to stand up inside yourself when things are working out. It's easy to be positive and motivated and have determination and drive when things are matching your level of expectation. But when tragedy strikes, where do you run to then? How do you handle it then? How do you keep your head up then? How do you keep your wits then? How do you stand strong within yourself at that particular time? And it's not easy. It is not easy to do that. And so as we look at ourselves and look into the future and look at where we are and look at the rawness and the freshness of the tragedy that we're experiencing emotionally, individually, and collectively, as we look at life and look at what took place at the Boston Marathon, and some people have lost jobs, some people have lost family members, some people have had other things to happen to them in the midst of all of it, we have to begin to affirm that somehow, some way, that we'll get through this. Somehow, some way, we're going to be on the other side of this tragedy. Somehow, some way, we must find the strength and the power and the perseverance and the faith and the patience to keep moving forward, to stay strong and to support each other and to encourage each other and to motivate each other. When I think about right now where we are and what's happening in the collective psyche, as we're thinking about the people who are horrified about what is taking place and what kind of person could think of, or people that can think of, killing innocent people. I remember as a kid when one of the most horrifying moments when little kids were blown up in church during the Civil Rights era when I was a kid. And we used to wonder, I used to ask, how could God let something of this nature happen? How could anybody do such a thing? And, of course, we had no answers. I remember as I thought about it as a kid, the fear that I had. I remember when a time that we lost our whistle. I remember as a kid, men used to whistle. And then Emmett Till, who was a young kid in the South, Emmett Till, who whistled, he whistled at a white woman. And I remember as a kid, I can see his picture in Jet magazine. He was lynched and killed. And as a result, from that day to this day, I never heard another black man whistle in public ever again. A tragedy. I used to give a speech saying, they took our whistle away. And even though the Boston Marathon, of all the years that it took place and no tragedies, that there's something as a result about this event that it will never be the same again. That this moment on this day, so something has been taken from us, an innocence, a celebration of the power of the human spirit has been snatched from us. And that this is a time that we have a moment that can define us, or we will define the moment, because life is full of tragedies. Viktor Frankl said that life is full of unavoidable suffering, but yet and still, we still have the power to determine whether or not this moment in history will define us, or if we will define the moment. That we can either be empowered and strengthened by it and have a deep down resolve that this time in our lives will not rob us of our faith, of our strength, of our belief in the future, of people coming together from around the world with a common interest and running together and sharing a moment of celebration of the power of the human spirit together. When tragedy strikes, it's a time that we have to acknowledge that we have to deal with things, and many times we don't understand. Many times we can't find answers. Many times there are no words that can encompass the symbolism of the pain and the suffering and the emotions that we go through because we just can't describe it. But yet and still, we know it's a part of life. We understand that. We know that. And we have to move on. We have to move through it. We have to resolve that this will not define us. This will not destroy us. And we must pick up and move on. As we look at some words that said many times when we have a teeth-rattling experience and the very foundation of our life has been shaken, we run to God only to discover that it's God that's doing the shaking. And it's a time that we will come together, turn to each other rather than on each other, and look for ways in which we can move forward, united, determined to help to create a world where this kind of darkness and tragic, demented, sick thinking, the behavior in the mind that produced this kind of horrific crime and tragedy, that we could create a world where this kind of tragedy will not take place. As we begin to envision a world where the value of human life can go far beyond any kind of sickness of people who would come together to do something as tragic as this. When tragedy strikes, it's a time to continue to hold the vision, to have faith, to have courage, to have determination, not to stop, to keep moving, to keep our heads up, to ask God for the strength to pull us through. We have to connect with ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as we look and go through this valley experience and know that even in the midst of the darkness, the light shall come forth through this. It always does. And that light of hope is what will pull us through the tragedies of life and allow us to still stand, to continue to pursue our dreams, and not allow anything or anyone or any situation or circumstance to rob us of our drive, our dreams, and determination. Let us pray and continue to have the strength and spirit to move forward and not lose our drive and spirit to come together to do what we can to make the world a better place than how we find it. Not only for ourselves today, but for generations yet unborn. God bless you. Stand. Continue to have faith, even in the face of tragedies. Continue to believe. This is Les Brown. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Les.
Thank you.
And thank you, callers, for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you next week.